Hello, train friends. Last Friday night was Dorfan night, and you probably saw the sneak preview. Well, I got as many cars and accessories out as I could find, and I'm going to dedicate this video to John Wheeler and Bill Scandariato, who both have encouraged me in collecting Dorfan, and also to the guy that wrote this book on Dorfan. It's the only one I know of, called Early American Toy Trains. He wrote the third segment about Dorfan. His name was Carlton McKinney, and I actually called Carl on the phone probably 20 years ago or more, and got some information from him, and he shared some decals with me, and what a great guy, and what a boost he's given us with this book. Carl passed away in 2004, but he outlined the different kinds of passenger cars, and he used the full measurement of the car, including the couplers, and so it's a little bit confusing. Like, for instance, the 5400 series cars, I would call them 5.5. Let me get my tape measure out. Yeah, if you measure the body, they're about 5.5. So these cars were lithographed cars, unlike most of the more deluxe cars, which were enameled. These came in red and green, and perhaps one other color, and they're all number 5402. There's Franklin, Hamilton, Washington, and Jefferson, and those are the four names. And the next one up is what I'd say is a 6.5-inch car. And these came in four-wheel, like the red ones you see here. Atlanta, Boston, Seattle are the names on the cars. And then observation. You can see there's a fair amount of paint loss, but I still wouldn't repaint it. Then the same car, well, not the same, similar car. See, the four-wheel cars have 4 window inserts. The 8-wheel cars, which are the same length, 6.5, they don't have window inserts. They're just enameled. Now, there are some doors that are separate pieces that are tabbed in on some of the cars, but not all of the cars. Pretty common to find them in this turquoise color, although you see them in red, this beautiful olive green, different shades of blues. But what's really unique about these cars is they have the silhouettes inside. And these are a lithographed silhouette, stamped out of sheet metal. They really add something to the car, and that's a first that Dorfan is responsible for. And while we're here, we might as well point out the difference in trucks. I've actually got the book that McKinney wrote open, and he's got a type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 journal. Type 1 would be the nickel-plated version, and it doesn't have any slots cut out for the journal boxes. The journal boxes look like this, come in brass and nickel. So the second type of truck would be a black enameled truck. Let's see if we can find one of those. Not a very good one, but again, it's not punched for journal boxes, but it's black. And then the third one would be black, punched for journal boxes, but no journal boxes. That's a type 3. And then type 4 would be the black enameled with nickel, and type 5 would be black enamel with brass. So 5 types of trucks. And then moving on from the 6-inch cars, there's a real nice set of cars that are, I'd call 7.5. These are a little bit different. They have window inserts. This set is blue with cream. It's not the best condition, but it's still nice. The silhouettes are not actually silhouettes. They're real die-cast people, and they're just riveted to a bench, and that makes it very realistic. This is the Boston car, and this is the Seattle car. Notice the wide deck on the observation. It's illuminated, and this elliptical window in the back is very unique. In the last series, the most deluxe, is this 494, 493, 492, 496 series. Came in this dark crackle green and a lighter, maybe more like apple green. And these also have window inserts, which are red. 492 is the baggage. There's a 496 coach, a 493 coach, and a 494 observation. There's the electrical pickups, the air tanks. It's a nice heavy car. One of the things that's unique about Dorfan is how the roofs are held on with little thumb screws. I think this thumb nut, I should say, are some that I had made. And the reason I had them made is they're difficult to find. They're a 540. I think the originals are typically nickel, not brass. I didn't get mine plated. So let's look inside these two cars and see how they're built. There's the short 8-inch car. If you look, there's another wire in here. This wire goes to the electrical pickup. This wire is grounded to the frame. That's another exclusive from Dorfan. To keep the lights from flickering, they used a ground wire, so you didn't have to depend on all the connections to make it go. Let's look inside this observation. There again is the ground wire, and there's a wire that goes to the observation deck. There's no bulb in it, but we'll make sure to run these before this video is over. Just beautiful cars. I can really see why somebody would get hooked on Dorfan. All right, let's go take a look at the freight cars. The freight cars are fairly simple. This is it. There wasn't anything else. And they are called the 600 series. And number 600 is the gondola. This one's a little more deluxe because it has the brass journals. and lithography is pretty bright. And the 601 would be the New York Central boxcar. A couple different variations. The 602 would be the Union Pacific boxcar. I've got them both in nickel and black trucks. I don't see any with journal boxes. And then the 603 was the orange Pennsylvania car. 604 would be the tank car. This is Indian Refining Company. There's a few of them. Again, some variations, different trucks, different couplers. Notice how this coupler looks like it was intended to be one that you bend over, yet it has a rivet. See that a lot on the passenger cars too. And some couplers are long and some couplers are short. See the difference right there? Different trucks. 605 is the hopper, Pennsylvania hopper. Actually had a working dump on it. Not real wonderful, but it works. And that's a pretty decent one. The 606 was a caboose, but it's the four-wheel caboose. It's a little bit shorter. And then they also had an 8-wheel caboose. That was the 607. I don't think there's a 608 car, but there is a 609, and that's the lumber car. They were all black with red stakes. Does not have an original lumber load. This one I made, and I made it wrong. I found out through Bill and John that the original was a 4-piece, slightly longer than the flat car itself. So these I made, but I believe they are correct. And somebody has painted over the red stakes. Then the last one is number 610, which is the crane or the derrick. The hook is a reproduction, but it's a close reproduction, and the roof's a reproduction. The lithography is really nice. And then we've got this lowers the hook, and then this control turns the direction of the boom. Just a little worm gear, but it's a nice looking freight car. I tried to get as many Dorfan items out at once as I could find. Included this number 610 bridge. It's missing a couple of uprights. It came with the ramps, and got a couple of them. Then when I was looking around, I found a telephone pole or a telegraph pole, number 415. I always thought this was a Lionel, but it's a solid die-cast piece, and I'm sure it's Dorfan. Looks like somebody's painted it, and somebody has changed at least one of the insulators. So there you have it for the freight cars. And a little Dorfan catalog. As promised, we're going to run an O gauge or narrow gauge, as Dorfan referred to them, passenger car. And I've got two 496 Boston coaches, a 493 Seattle coach, and a 494 observation. Took a little time to clean up the die-cast wheels, which are cracked, by the way. I got them rolling, and I got all the lights working, and we're going to pull it with this 3304 American Flyer steamer. It's a nice consist. I have not even cleaned the cars yet. They're pretty dirty. So that was the Olive number 490 cars, 6-inch. They're all 3 Seattle coaches. And we were running them with a Lionel 252, a very similar color. Let's run one more passenger consist. These are the 4-wheel 495 cars. And there is an Atlanta, Boston, Seattle coach and an observation. And finally a real Dorfan locomotive. This is the number 51. A lot of the paint's gone. Die cast fairly heavy. And it has a homemade gear which I made on a key machine, so it runs pretty rough. Let's give it a shot. Well, that was a rough runner. There's the same one right there in the middle, number 51. Missing a lot of paint, but the body's straight, and it does run, but it runs rough. There's another one that somebody's overpainted in black, and they're both number 51s. And the one in the front is a mechanical clockwork, spring work, and I think it's a number 154. Doesn't have a tender, but it is a locomotive. The real interesting thing about these die-cast locomotives is that Dorfan was really into education and giving kids some play value. You can see there's a split right up the middle. And it's held together by 2 pins. I might regret this. There's one fake headlight pin. The other one is hooked to a real headlight, And there's a fawn stock clip right here. So see if we can do this with one hand. I pull this pin. It's like a grenade. So here comes the wire. So there's two pieces. Now let's see what happens. Nothing. Oh, there it goes. Never tried this one-handed. Oh, here's the pickup clip coming out. Another fawn stock clip. There's the axles. I really shouldn't be doing this with one hand. There's a coupler. But it's just so interesting. So there's the armature, which I rewound, by the way. Still warm from being run. Also, I made one of those plates out of a penny. Do what you got to do. There's the field. There's the brushes. Fairly simple. There's the gears and the wheels. The only thing you need to take this all the way apart is a screwdriver to get the screw off. The original gears were made out of fiber, and I might have a reproduction, but I actually made this one on a key machine. It's just a piece of brass, and it works. But that's how you take a Dorfan locomotive apart. I'll have fun putting that back together. So far we haven't talked about accessories. I showed you the 410 bridge, which I mistakenly called a 610. 610's the derrick. And there was the telephone pole. But here is the biggie. And this is a reproduction. I wish it was an original. But it's the number 70 crane. It's motorized. Has two controls. And if I had time, I'd pull it out of there. But I don't have the time. That's a great accessory. I think this one was made by T Reproductions. And speaking of reproductions, we haven't talked about wide gauge or standard gauge. I've got this American Flyer made by MTH, gloss black, which I'm pulling a reproduction Dorfan passenger set in gloss black with red trim. There's a 770 baggage or mail car, 771 San Francisco coach, 772 Washington coach, and a 773 observation. I think they called this the Palmetto, at least that's what it says on the drumhead. Again, they have the die-cast figures in the windows. And the neat thing about the American Flyer locomotive that I'm pulling it with is that it's the same casting that Dorfan would have used. So I'll go over to the controls, we'll run this, and then close up the video. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the Dorfan video. Once again, I appreciate you watching all of my videos. And Dorfan was a great company. Sorry we didn't get to run the narrow gauge freight trains, but I'll save that for another video. Have a great week.